Hellpoint. Some could say it launched this channel. Some might also say it was a dive into a different Souls-like game and a renewed love for the genre. However, am I the only one wearing rose-tinted glasses, or was Hellpoint actually an underrated masterpiece that the internet has not yet found appreciation of? Well, that's what we're going to be trying to decide in this video. I'll talk about the good aspects of Hellpoint, as well as some of the aspects that I was not so fond of. This is an honest review of Hellpoint. Oh, and if you want to see more review style content of games I do Let's Plays of, feel free to let me know by either liking this video or leaving a comment below. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. But first, let's discuss the YouTube Shorts. As you might know, I've been putting out a lot of YouTube Shorts, not only on this channel, but on other channels as well. And I thought it would only make sense as to tell you guys why I'm able to do this. Well, it's because of a neat little program called Opus Clip, which allows you to import your videos into it, and it will automatically make shorts for you based on the content that it believes will draw viewers in addition to the content that you even give it specifications on. You can prompt it to find the specific parts of the videos you want displayed as shorts as well. Opus Clip is expanding their outreach. They're not only on YouTube now, they're also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So if you are in any of those platforms and you need to make short form content to get seen by the algorithm, then please go to the affiliate link in my description and you can sign up for an Opus Clip program today. Yeah. So now let's get into the actual video content. As with any good game, we have to talk about the overall environment. The environment of Irid Novo, that is, the space station you find yourself awakened on, is something of a post-apocalyptic sci-fi charm. If I had to compare it to the likes of Alien, then that would be a fairly accurate comparison. The maze-like corridors, the creepy enemies, the overall feeling of dread and despair you get as you first explore these corridors is truly magnificent. The space station awakens like a sleeping behemoth the more you explore it, and begins to have more life as you wander through the different areas, and begin powering it back up with each secret entrance, slain foe, or diversion of power to the rest of the station. What was once a desolate, end-of-the-time space station eventually becomes a live metropolis, one that you can only imagine people used to wander around with wonder and awe. The once glistening pride of humans, left to a ruin after venturing too close to a black hole that threatens to swallow the station whole unless it gains enough power to mitigate its eventual collapse. Each area you visit also feels unique in its own right, little ecosystems within the larger ecosystem that change the overall feel of the area. An entertainment district gone rogue, demons wandering the streets of the business district, an impossibly massive archive of knowledge, and even an underground cavern that houses a miniature star. There's no shortage of diversity when it comes to the way Irid Novo presents itself. The one pain point I have about this is because of the maze-like nature of some areas, it's very easy to lose your way in Irid Novo. And that only becomes more complicated as you find more of the secret doors to make shortcuts that perhaps are actually causing you to get lost in the first place. Still though, for as frustrating as it can be to navigate Irid Novo, it definitely is a beautiful and masterpiece of an environment to look at. And with any good Souls-like game, you have to also talk about the combat. I would say that the combat is very similar to Demon Souls or even the first Dark Souls, and that's about the highest compliment I will give this combat system. It is nice that for a first Souls-like game, the developers took a very simplistic combat approach. However, in the realm of greater Souls-like games, we've come to expect flashier combat and a faster paced overall combat than Hellpoint likes to give. One thing it does have going for it, however, is it does blend together different mechanics seamlessly. Weapon switching is swift and efficient, allowing for quick changes to your playstyle. And while I certainly could never find a parry system, the block system is one of the best I've seen executed in a Souls-like to date. Magic is fairly fluid, as well as the overall melee combat. There's even some range combat options with guns and cannons, although that is a little limited and drains your energy, which is the game's equivalent to magic points. While we're on the topic of energy, let's mention the Omni Cube, which can offer multiple benefits, although you'll likely only use it for the flashlight, due to how dark Irid Novo is, and maybe sometimes to teleport back to a breach feature. The Omni Cube certainly can have some situational bonuses, however, such as countering heat with the ability to cool yourself down, or vice versa. It even helps discover some secrets with the blacklight features. While the combat is simplistic, it never feels unfair or janky, just mostly less flashy than what Souls-like gamers have come to expect out of the genre at this point. I certainly think a refined combat system would make the game shine out, or at least more than 3 options for range combat even. Given the way some bosses move as well, it looks like they intended for the combat to be faster, but potentially ran out of time to make that a possibility. If there is a Hellpoint 2, I hope they focus a lot on the combat to really entice Souls-like players to find all the limitations and breaks they can do in combat to really make it shine. And now we're going to be talking about the balancing, as much as we can with a Souls-like game. I would like to preface this section with, while yes, I am talking about a Souls-like game and they aren't really known for balancing, the balancing in this game was odd at best. Much like the typical Souls-like, you have a challenge anytime you're in a new area, and the game does its best to balance that consideration. I would say the balance in this game is particularly weird, though. You feel exceptionally weak until you get the stats to 10, and then you feel strong to almost everything except a couple of bosses. Enemies might also have weird balancing stats and be in different areas. As a result, it can make it tough to know if you're strong and can handle the area, or weak and need to go back to the previous one to grind, although even grinding didn't seem to do that much. It seemed the balance beyond level 50 was not considered for the game, and that's kind of an odd thing for a developer to lack on, which is strange because there's a New Game Plus, and this gets further blown out of proportion on New Game Plus levels, which don't seem to buff certain enemies that much, but give insane buffs to others. Even the bosses on base game were weirdly balanced, with a few being able to be 3-hit easily, and some taking damage like I was hitting them with a pool noodle. Overall, the balance for a Souls-like is not really something that most people consider when it comes to complaining. Again, the entire genre is meant to be challenging on purpose, but it was enough for me to have a complaint or two about it. As with any good Souls-like, we have to talk about the bosses, because that's what everyone really loves about Souls-likes. The bosses in this game were kind of a double-edged sword, in my opinion. Some of them were really just standard mobs from later in the game that you experienced earlier, and some of them were really cool, unique deities of the realm. The Archon Knights got a little repetitive, but that is not a trope unique to Hellpoint. In fact, most Souls-like games will have bosses that you see multiple of, or at least multiple versions, so that's not what bothered me. What bothered me the most about the bosses, other than the aforementioned balancing issues, was that there was not more themed bosses based off the deities. The Puppet Master boss, whose name I will not try to pronounce because it would result in me stumbling over my own words, and I've already done that enough in this video, was very cool and creepy. Nemundus was cool, seeming like a peaceful man, while his shadow showed the inner rage within, and Ulthos, well, he's a giant freaking demon. The 3 deities were so cool and represent the Souls-like genre well, and the other bosses fell short, which is disappointing since you play Souls-like games for the epic bosses that you're going to encounter. At least the final battle, although not the true ending, I did not make it to that, is a cool nod to the futility of every spawn, Ashen One, or whatever you're going to be called in a Souls-like game, to close the loop, as it just starts it all over again, forever. I did not experience the Blue Sun DLC in this playthrough, so I cannot say how the boss's thematics are in that, but for the 3 deities and the final boss, I thought it was very spot on to how a Souls-like game should be. If all of the boss encounters were that way, then I would have rated the bosses much higher. But unfortunately, this is a point that Hellpoint falls short on. And I hope if a Hellpoint 2 is on the horizon, they get more original bosses that meet the Souls-like expectations. Now I'm going to be talking probably about the best part of the game, which is the lore. If you're into lore and learning everything about a world and how it came to be and what it was, then Hellpoint is one of the best games for this. The lore in this game could give you a rich story and novel on everything that has occurred on Irid Novo and why certain deities are now walking the station. You can learn about other spawn, like yourself, and learn a great deal from the few survivors scattered around the station. The lore is so rich, YouTube channels could probably make an entire living off of talking about the lore and theory crafting and seeing what would happen after the spawn chose to close the cycle. I am personally a lore fiend myself, and even I couldn't find all the lore I wanted to in this game. Plenty of it lies scattered as you're naturally exploring, but some of it is locked behind some of the secret doors you're expected to explore and find. Maybe one day I'll go through the entire lore if people want to see those types of videos, but until then, may the lore be yours to find in Irid Novo. So, what do I really rate Hellpoint? What is my overall summary of the game? I've talked about a lot of different Hellpoint facets, but what would I really give it? Well, as a Souls-like game and a genre that I've become fond of recently, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10 of games I enjoy playing. As mentioned, there were definitely pieces that I did not enjoy, with the biggest piece being the balancing issues. However, there were definitely pieces I enjoyed, like the lore, the boss battles with the deities, and the overall environment of the game, which made it enjoyable despite all of that. I would recommend Hellpoint to anyone who wants to try a new Souls-like game that blends Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and a few other Souls-like systems together in a way that is quite fun, and also if you're just a fan of sci-fi horror in general. This was my first video review of any series that I've ever done, and I really thought it out, as Hellpoint is a game that likely most of you have not heard of. If this is something you want to see continue on this channel, where I review games after I finish a full Let's Play of them, then please let me know by commenting down below, and leave a like if you want to see more of this. Who knows? Maybe I'll do reviews of all the series that I plan to play on this channel. Until next time, though, have a great day and explore Irid Novo with joy and perhaps a healthy amount of respect.